The DeLorean story, a car that looked like it came from the future. A founder hailed as the god of the auto industry, an arrest for cocaine trafficking. And in the end, a failure that became a pop culture legend. This isn't a Hollywood script. This is the true story of the DeLorean DMC-12, a $130 million dream and a crash that shook the world. It's 1981. A stainless steel machine rolls into American showrooms, gull-wing doors, a body like a spaceship. And the man behind it? He walked away from his post as vice president of GM to pursue a vision, to build a car that was beautiful, safe, and ethical. But that dream would burn through cash, disrupt the auto industry, and end in FBI handcuffs. John DeLorean wasn't building a car, he was building a revolution on four wheels, a stainless steel shell, mid-engine, airbags, plastic chassis molded with space-age tech called elastic reservoir molding. All of it wrapped in the promise of safety, sustainability, and innovation. But here's the thing about revolutions. They're hard to mass produce. That miracle molding technology didn't work. Not at scale, not even close. It was back to the drawing board. So he called in Lotus founder Colin Chapman, a legend. Chapman essentially rebuilt the car from scratch. The DMC-12 survived, but at a cost. The lightweight dream? Gone. The innovative plastic frame? Scrapped. What remained was heavier, slower, more expensive. And then came the engine saga. First, a rotary engine, dead on arrival. Then a Ford V6, rejected. Finally, a compromise. A Peugeot Renault Volvo V6. A meek 130 horsepower. Barely enough to outrun your dad's station wagon. The dream was to sell a sports car for $12,000. Reality? It hit the market at more than double, $25,000. The DMC-12 now stood face-to-face with the Corvette and the Porsche 911. Only, it had half their soul and none of their speed. Road and Track clocked its 0 to 60 at 8.8 seconds. 0 to 100, a painful 40 seconds. One reviewer didn't hold back. It takes forever, basically forever. The dream still looked like the future, but it drove like yesterday. Then came a lifeline from across the Atlantic. The British government, gripped by rising tensions in Northern Ireland, offered John a deal too good to refuse. Over $100 million in funding to build his factory in Belfast. For DeLorean, it was perfect. He only had to invest $2 million of his own. The rest, taken care of. Jobs for Belfast, a home for his dream, a win for everyone. Or so it seemed. But dreams built on political promises often come with hidden costs. Belfast had no automotive tradition. The workers were eager but green. Production schedules were tight. Expectations? Unreasonable. And the clock? Always ticking. To keep the funding, DeLorean had to move fast. Too fast. Cars rolled off the line with misaligned wheels, dead batteries, overheating engines. Some needed 200 hours of extra repairs before they could even be shipped. Those iconic gull-wing doors? They stuck. They leaked. They jammed shut in the cold. The very symbol of the future couldn't open in winter. What began as a partnership to bring hope started looking more and more like a slow-motion train wreck. January 1981, the DeLorean DMC-12 officially launches, but the timing couldn't have been worse. America had just entered one of the worst recessions in modern history. Interest rates soared above 20%. Financing a new car, let alone a $25,000 stainless steel sports car, became nearly impossible. Consumer tastes had shifted. People wanted small, fuel-efficient cars. The oil crises of the 70s had changed everything. And the DMC-12? It guzzled expectations, but couldn't deliver. By the end of 1981, over 7,500 cars had rolled off the line, but only 3,000 had sold. Most companies would hit the brakes, cut losses, pause production. But DeLorean? He doubled down. The factory kept churning out cars no one was buying. Inventory piled up. Cash burned faster. By February 1982, the company was $175 million in debt. And pressure from the British government was mounting. An investigation uncovered something troubling. £23 million, nearly half of the government's investment, had vanished. The funds had been wired to a Panamanian company, General Product Development Services, intended for the factory, but never seen again. DeLorean's next request for more funding? Denied. Unless he could bring in matching private investment. But who, in their right mind, would pour millions into a company losing money on every car it built? The dream was slipping, the empire was crumbling, and John was running out of time. By 1982, the dream was unraveling. Sales had stalled, cash was vanishing, and John DeLorean? He was out of options, out of time, out of friends. Then, a lifeline appeared. A man named Hoffman. A promise of millions. A way out. But it wasn't salvation. It was a trap. October 19, 1982, John DeLorean was arrested by the FBI, caught on tape, discussing a $24 million cocaine deal. Yes, that John DeLorean. The suit, the stainless steel, the GTO. Now in handcuffs. It was the final twist in a story already stranger than fiction. The courtroom drama dragged on for years, and in the end, DeLorean was found not guilty, a victim of government entrapment. But the damage? Irreversible. 1 week after his arrest, the DeLorean Motor Company was gone. The Belfast factory shuttered. Over 1,000 workers, most of them young, hopeful, and already living through violence, were out of work. DeLorean's name, once whispered as Detroit's next king, became a cautionary tale. He died in 2005, bankrupt, divorced, still clinging to a version of the dream. The world had long since moved past, and yet, that dream, broken as it was, refused to die. Because a few years later, something strange happened. A movie, a car, time travel. Back to the Future turned the DeLorean into something no business plan ever could. A legend, a stainless steel phoenix rising from the ashes of failure to become the most iconic failure in automotive history. So, what went wrong? This wasn't just a business that failed, it was a lesson in how great ideas die when vision outpaces execution. A revolutionary car, but built with tech that didn't work. A generous government deal, but with impossible deadlines. A charismatic founder who became the brand, and its downfall. And timing? Catastrophic. A luxury sports car launched in a recession, with sky-high interest rates and plummeting consumer confidence. But here's the twist. Even in failure, the DeLorean refused to disappear. Because in 1985, it found its time machine. Back to the Future turned the DMC-12 into a cultural immortal. Today, over 6,000 of these cars still roam the roads, polished, protected, and beloved. Not for what they achieved, but for what they dared to become. The DeLorean reminds us, in business, style without substance can't save you. Timing matters more than talent. And sometimes, the most iconic legacy isn't success, it's the story of how close you came.